Hello and welcome to West Country Wanderings. Welcome to one in my railway series. Today we're in both the city of Bristol and the county of South Gloucestershire. In fact, the county of South Gloucestershire is just the other side of these railway tracks, and we're looking at the site of three brand new railway stations here, which will be in Bristol / South Gloucestershire. So there's three of them. Two are kind of in the immediate area of Bristol where it joins up with South Gloucestershire, although I think for planning reasons it comes under South Gloucestershire. And the third one is right in the heart of South Gloucestershire, near the town of Wootton-under-Edge. Now, this first station site that we're looking at is a new station called Henbury. Now, I've actually just made a video in Henbury by the church there. And to get to this station site wasn't easy via road. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit easier and going to be a lot better marked if you're on foot or using a bike. I kind of had to go up on a road, but it's a dual carriageway which heads out of the city centre and leads up to the M5 motorway. I think it's junction 17. So what's this railway line then? Well, this railway line has an interesting backstory. This currently is a freight-only railway line and is known as the Henbury Loop Line. And it was opened in 1910, originally only as a freight line to connect Bristol and the port of Bristol and further railway infrastructure both in the northerly and southerly direction up to Birmingham beyond, Exeter and south, to the port of Avonmouth. Now that had already been growing. In fact, it already had a railway line via Clifton Down, the line that heads up, I've forgotten the name of the junction, but it comes off there, Narroways, isn't it? Narroways junction off the main Bristol-Birmingham railway line, and it turns off heading towards Clifton and Avonmouth. So it already had that line, but because sections of it were single track, it was getting congested. So they built this. Now, when they built this line, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated, they built the infrastructure like the bridges, the tunnel that's a bit further back that way, to double track width, although the railway line itself was only single track. Now you'll see there, it's double track. It was widened at a date that I don't know. At some point, probably between 1935, when it's marked on the OS map as being single track, and 1950, when you can see photographs of it being double track. It was singled again in 1964 and doubled again in the early 1990s to cope with increased freight volumes to do with coal at the port of Avonmouth. When the passenger services closed in 1964, so did all the stations on this line. There weren't that many. We'll be looking at another one that's going to be opening at Filton even, which will maybe called Brabazon for reasons I'll explain when we get there. So yeah, this one here, Henbury and North Filton, and then Ashley Down, which I covered last year when that station opened, and that'll be the basis of a service every hour out of Bristol Temple Meads, Ashley Down, North Filton, and here at Henbury, where this will in fact be a terminus as far as passenger trains will be concerned. So there's going to be one platform here, and then the train will be heading back in the direction of Bristol Temple Meads. So yeah, 5 carriage trains. Let's have a little bit more look at around the site here, because obviously we've just got the fences here, bit of track, and I'll then take you on to the other two new sites of railway stations here in Bristol / South Gloucestershire. Now, apologies for the traffic noise. I'll try and do this as close mic'd as I can. I was doing the introductory piece to camera there, which is in Bristol. Just come over this bridge here, which brings us into South Gloucestershire. Now I think, but I'm not 100% certain, that our new railway station is going to be here. So as you can see, work has not yet started. It's going to be a platform for 5 carriage trains. So I think that's around about 560 passengers on each train flow out of Bristol Temple Meads. Again, apologies for the traffic noise. It's a very busy road heading out of the M5 into the city. So I think the building and infrastructure is going to be going in here. So we've got a new housing development there. So it must be going in here because there's a newish access road there taking into that new South Gloucestershire. There was originally a station here at Henbury, but that wasn't at this location, it was on the other side of the bridge. So let's go and have a look at that now. So we're now looking at things from the South Gloucestershire side. That's heading up to the M5, busy road as I say. New housing development here, they obviously put drainage in, and that's our new housing development there. And our railway tracks heading back towards Bristol Parkway, Bristol Temple Meads, etc. are there. So I think that is where our station here, Henbury, is going to be. Now it's supposed to be opening in 2027, although works for it haven't yet started. The only thing I can see is a little access road which comes off the main access road in the new centre. Can you see that there? I think that's probably been put in by the developers for the new station here at Henbury. I'll say Henbury, I'll put Henbury stroke Brentry. Again, apologies for traffic noise. This is looking at the Henbury Loop line in the direction of Avonmouth, and it was around about here that was the original site of Henbury's original station, which I think opened around about 1914, and then they had services curtailed because of the First World War. It opened a little bit after the end of the First World War and then closed when the other two stations, or rather three stations. There was another station on this line, I think called a place called Charlton, to serve a village there, which is between here and Filton. And Charlton, the village of Charlton, was sadly completely demolished around about the Second World War, before the Second World War, to make way for the new Filton runway to serve, well, basically building aerospace and planes and all that, and Brabazon. So Charlton was sadly demolished, so later on there was no requirement to have a station there at Charlton. But yes, so this would have been the goods yard here at Henbury. It's now just a builder's yard. There's no access in it, it's not even open today, so there's no way I can get in there at all. But I can't make out any obvious railway buildings, they're all post after the station closed. But it had two platforms. I'll insert some images of what it looked like when the station was open here at Henbury. You may be thinking, why is a railway station needed there? Well, it's to do with the houses being built there. So we're on the Bristol side of the tracks there. That's the builder's merchant there, and the railway track's the other side of that. And to the right of the dual carriageway is where the new station is going to be. But yeah, so new housing going in this area here. You can actually walk back to Henbury through this way as well. What we're going to do now is leave this side here of Henbury stroke Brentry, where the new station will be, although development works hasn't yet started, but they should be imminently later on in the autumn. And I'll be following these three stations here in South Gloucestershire, stroke Bristol, with a great deal of interest and progress. So I'll be certainly showing that. Certainly be showing you when Charfield opens, which will probably be the first one of the three to open. So let's head on now to the direction of North Filton for our next station, where work has already begun. So currently in Brabazon Office Park here in Filton in South Gloucestershire, next to the large GKN aerospace factory, which is on my right. There is a path through this factory area, I do believe, so we're going to carry along, follow it here till we get to the railway tracks, and hopefully we'll then see the site of the new station on the Henbury Loop line. So it looks like you can't get to it. Yes, hats come on because the sun's come out quite strongly now. It's now 11 o'clock. Although it's in real time watching this, it appears to be just a few minutes, obviously walking backwards and forwards looking at things. You can't get to it that way. I've just spoken to someone about this. Now, this factory that's next to me is part of our story in terms of railway history, because the station at North Filton, or North Filton Halt, or North Filton Platform, is a rather interesting one in terms of railway history. Now, officially, the passenger services on the Henbury Loop ended in 1964. Unofficially, they carried on until, well, probably around 1984. And they had a passenger service to take the workers to here, to the GKN site. It used to be, I think, is it Rolls-Royce around here as well in Filton, wasn't it? I'm not sure if that's still here. But obviously this whole area, industry-wise, is linked to aviation. And of course you've got the Filton Airfield, which now is sadly closed. As I said, they demolished that village to make the way for the runway, and now they're demolishing the runway to make way for a new housing development, which is going to be built by a Malaysian property company. Yeah, you heard that right. They own Wessex Water, I believe. They've owned Wessex Water for about 20 or so years. I do apologise for the traffic noise. We're going to head along this way towards the A38 and then backtrack a bit further along here in the heart of Filton. So yeah, it's a very busy road, as you know, if you know Bristol at all. A38 is one of the main thoroughfares into and out of the city. And yeah, so it carried on serving the needs of the workers to arrive here in Filton from other parts of Bristol, trains from Bristol Temple Meads. And there was a platform there, so yeah, carried on another 20 years after officially closing. I don't think it ever appeared in the railway timetables after it officially closed. It was just on a needs basis for the workers in and around Filton here in South Gloucestershire. What was Gloucestershire, now South Gloucestershire. Of course, in between all that, it was Avon as well, on the edge of the city of Bristol. Anyway, let's follow the A38. This is the big roundabout. I'm not sure the roundabout has a name. So we're also close to Southmead Hospital, which is this is where you turn off for it. That's down that way. I'm heading north in the direction of Patchway, Almondsbury, that direction. Just going past a pub. It's a Green King pub with an air balloon on it. So presumably it's called the Air Balloon, is it? I'm not sure, which is appropriate for Bristol, of course, with its... yeah, it is called the Air Balloon, yes. And so, yeah, it's obviously appropriate because it's at home with the air balloon industry here as well. Let's continue along here through Filton up to the railway bridge. Now, nothing to do with railways, but to do with aviation, just passing Sir Stanley Whitegate, founding director of the British and Colonial Airplane Company back in 1910. He was also the managing director of the Bristol Airplane Company between 1920 and 1955, and its deputy chairman. And this was opened by George White, Sir George White, presumably one of his relatives, in 2013. So yes, very famous place in terms of aviation history here in Filton in South Gloucestershire. The wing of an Airbus plane here, outside Airbus factory. We're going to continue on following the A38 though. Again, apologies for the traffic noise, but you can see here two platforms. And yes, that was the original platforms here at North Filton, North Hilton Holt, or North Filton platform, which will serve the needs of the workers here in the aviation industry for many, many years. And it's soon to be open as a railway station, well, as soon as next year, I do believe. We have a road here which goes under the A38, so that's the A38. So it's like a road that goes right underneath, connecting up different developments here in Filton. And I'm just wondering if our development site is going to be through those green gates over there. So let's go and have a look at that. So we're now looking at the old airfield here at Filton, and you can see there's various developments that are springing up all around. Suddenly building right on top of the runway, or soon will be. There's lots and lots of new housing here, which fits into our story of railways. So this is North Filton Overbridge. There we are. There's the huge Airbus factory from the other side now. So you might be thinking at this point, why is no development taking to reopen the station here if those are the platforms? Well, it's because the site of the new station at North Filton, or should I say Brabazon, isn't here. We need to go through 180 degrees. Also note here that the platform, although it was a halt, had very, very lengthy platform. It continues on, so I'm looking in the Avonmouth direction now on the Henbury Loop line. And our new site of our station is there. And in fact, I can see some men in orange just down there that are working on it presently. Unfortunately, I don't know how you get into that site. I don't think that I'm allowed access. So these are all new developments here. You can see some new housing blocks of apartments. And this is a new Brabazon site, new development here in Filton. And that is why this station here, which is a little bit further on from the original site in the direction of Avonmouth, is going to be called Brabazon Station, named after not only the plane, but the man that was behind it. I'll see if I can find a photograph of Mr. Brabazon now. Not sure if Mr. or Sir. But yeah, so that's where the name comes from, to do with aviation and the links to here, Filton here in South Gloucestershire. So that's where the new station is going to be, along there. And work is already taking place. Not sure if they're actually constructing the platforms there at the moment. So the Axis site is through here, so it's a locked site. It's YTL Developments. As I say, that was that Malaysian company that are behind this. So it's a secure construction site at the moment, so it's not only linked to building the railway station, but all the infrastructure that's going on around it. So it's a huge cost. I can't remember how many billions of private finance is being put into this, but it's huge. And obviously there's a contributory element from Network Rail and South Gloucestershire County Council and City of Bristol Council as well. But that's where it's going to be. So where you've got that Euro mix, cement mixer there, it's just a little bit further on there, but unfortunately I can't get any closer to show you at the moment. And I'm sure as construction goes on, and I believe that the site is going to be opening here towards the end of next year, 2026. They really want to push on with it to get it open for another reason, which I'll explain now. So, huge complex here, but it's not just about housing and shops here at the Brabazon development here in Filton. It's also about the Bristol Arena. Now, what's all that all about? Well, obviously in Bristol you had what was known as the Colston Hall. I never remember what it's called now. I'll put it in now. I always forget what it's called. But you had that side there for concerts and venue, which is still going. Is it Bristol Fusion? Something like that. But anyway, I digress. This area is going to have its own arena, because obviously there's going to be transport right into the site, much bigger area for parking, be a lot easier to get to from the motorways than what it is from getting right into the heart of the city centre. This will be a huge new arena for all kinds of exhibitions, a bit kind of like Bristol's NEC, if you like, here in Filton in South Gloucestershire. And that transport link here on the Henbury Loop line will form a major part of it. So yes, I'm sorry I couldn't get any closer to the site, but it's good to see the old platforms there as well, wasn't it? But yeah, North Filton / Brabazon station here on the Henbury Loop. We've still got one more station to look at though, not on the Henbury Loop line, but on the Bristol to Birmingham main line, south of Gloucester, north of Bristol, north of Yate indeed, at Charfield. Let's go over and head over there now. Well, welcome back. I'm now in Charfield in South Gloucestershire, a bit further up in the direction of the city of Gloucester. As you can see, here we have a development site on behalf of Network Rail. The contractor is called Octavius, working in partnership with Network Rail, the West of England Mayoral Combined Authority, and South Gloucestershire Council, of course. So this is the site of Charfield's new railway station. Well, where was the existing one? Well, let's just hop on and have a look. So this here once was Charfield's railway station. In fact, I've done a separate video looking at this in terms of Charfield's railway station because of the Charfield railway disaster, and I'll link to that video at the end of this one. Now, this isn't going to be the site of the new railway station here at Charfield, but as part of the works, it looks like they are doing some work to the old building. There's some scaffolding going up there, and the station master's house here. So the original building has currently got some scaffolding works on it. As well as the station master's house here, we also have the original water tower here. So the main railway line between Bristol and Birmingham is just the other side of these tracks here. Now the work that's taking place goes on here, because this here is going to be forming the new car park here at Charfield. So that's the railway station down there, what will be, and the platforms will be extending across both sides down here. Now, I don't actually know what this building is going to be used for once it's been restored. Obviously, it won't form part of the new station, though. Good to see that it's intact rather than been demolished. That happens in a lot of places. So from here, we're looking over the top of the footbridge. There is a bit of a lip on the top of the footbridge, so I've had to put the camera high up, so you're actually seeing more than me at the moment. And it's down there that the site of the new station will be here at Charfield. Let's see if we can get a better view from the roadside on the opposite side of the tracks. Now, Charfield does have loops here, passing loops. These may be extended later on, because in the Network Rail report for the Bristol and Birmingham line, to increase capacity, they are looking to develop these so they can increase the frequency of the trains using this. Because don't forget, you've got freight trains that use this line, as well as passenger trains. You've got GWR ones between Worcester, Gloucester, Bristol, cross-country ones, Cheltenham to Birmingham from the southwest, and freight ones, as well as many, many others, of course, as well. And of course, the new service, which will be stopping here at Charfield, which will probably be the existing one that stops at Cammon, Dursley and Yate, making its way north to the city of Gloucester from Bristol. So that's looking at the new car park site. Let's wander on down this way a little bit to the underpass or underbridge underneath the main line. Now, nothing to do with the new railway station itself. This is a pre-existing Network Rail access site to maintain the main line here, very important line between Bristol and Birmingham. But a couple of things here. There was once a way bridge there, and just beyond that you might be able to make out some arches, and they're supporting arches for what would have been a siding which was raised above the main line, which was for coal, for tipping coal trains, hoppers, that sort of thing. Just put the camera underneath the fence here so you can have a better look. There we go. I can't remember if I covered that on the previous video here, but there it is there. Interesting feature. Let's head on down to the bridge though. Lots of new ballast and banking gone in there where the end of the platform will be, just coming up to the bridge. So huge amounts of work going on this side, on the opposite side. So this is the Wootton Under Edge side of the new railway station. So it's a little bit further to the south than where the previous one, the original one, was here on Bristol-Birmingham line. You can see the edge of the Cotswolds over there. And this, I think, is for additional car park space. I don't know how many car park spaces are intended to be here. Train passing behind me. But yeah, it looks pretty huge to me. So it looks like potentially lots of spaces here, because I think this is going to be used by people from Wootton Under Edge. More about Wootton Under Edge in a moment though. So this here is the Charfield subway, or Charfield underpass, which is pretty low. Not as low as this low. There's one at Dawlish Warren, isn't there, which I think is around just over 6 foot. This one's 7 foot 3 inch, or if you prefer, or I certainly prefer, metric, which is 2.2 metres. So let's just talk about frequency first of all, as in train frequency. Now, Cammon Dursley station gets a train every hour. About 18 months ago, they increased the frequency of trains between Worcester, Gloucester and Bristol. It used to be Worcester every 2 hours, Gloucester to Bristol every hour. It's now every 30 minutes from Gloucester and every hour from Worcester down to Bristol, and in the reverse direction. Now, every other one of those trains stops at Cammon Dursley station. Every one of those trains stops at Yate station. There isn't the line capacity for every train, that local service connecting those 3 cities up, to stop at Cammon Dursley, which is a little bit unfortunate because Cammon Dursley is growing a lot in that area. That station is being used a lot more. Now, I'm not certain what the capacity here is going to be. As you see, they've got some loops there at Charfield. The next loops aren't until this line joins up with a line from Swindon to Gloucester at Standish Junction at Haresfield. So it's quite difficult to increase the line capacity. But I think there may be the potential that they could have a 30-minute service here. And I'm not sure if that will extend up to Gloucester, or whether it'll just be like a shuttle like we've seen on the Henbury Loop. I have a feeling it will carry on to Gloucester, so you'll be able to get a 30-minute train to Gloucester, 30-minute train down to Bristol Temple Meads via Yate and Bristol Parkway, which will be very, very useful for people in this area. Now, I'm not sure the population of Charfield, if I find that out, it's probably about 1,500, maybe a little bit more. But near to here, a couple of miles away, you have the Gloucestershire village, not South Gloucestershire, town should I say, of Wootton Under Edge. Which has also been provided of a train service, because they would have used this station here when it was in use up until the 1960s, of course. So reopening this station will be not only advantageous to Charfield, but neighbouring Wootton Under Edge. Now, that's not all. As part of the plans to reopen this station is they're looking to put in, well, they're not looking to, they're going to put in a cycle track and footpath between here and Wootton Under Edge. There is kind of a footpath at the moment, but they're going to improve it so it'll make it more adaptable for people using pushchairs and cycles as well to be able to get here. Green routes and be able to catch trains down to Bristol and up to Gloucester and Worcester, which would be really, really fantastic to take cars off the road. As you can see, they're ever increasing in number, even on quieter roads like this one here in Charfield. So, in summary, we've got 3 stations opening up here in South Gloucestershire. We have Henbury, we have North Filton, and we have this one here at Charfield. But which one is going to open first? Well, as we've seen, North Filton hasn't yet started construction, so it won't be that one. Potentially it could be this one here at Charfield that opens first, but the Mayor of Bristol is going to put a lot of pressure in getting North Filton open first because of the Brabazon development there, and of course Rena, and also the funding that's coming in from Malaysia, unbelievably. Yeah. So we now come back to the site here. You can see they're doing some work along there. The original station buildings here at Charfield. As I say, the new station will be going on down that way. Now, what I will be doing is following the progress of all 3 of these stations, and I'll certainly be doing videos on them when they open, whenever that may be. Now, hopefully both this one and Filton will open by the end of next year, because we're always associated with delays, so fingers crossed that will happen. That'd be fantastic if it does. I've previously covered 4 stations opening here on West Country Wanderings: Oakhampton, Marsh Barton, Portsway, Park and Ride, and the most recent one, which is Ashley Down, which links into the Henbury Loop series. This isn't part of the Henbury Loop series, but the Ashley Down currently has a train which goes to Bristol Parkway and then returns back to Temple Meads. It'll then be served by the trains of going up to North Filton, stroke Brabazon, and to Henbury, and then returning, so it'll be part of that service. This is on, obviously, the Bristol, Gloucester, Worcester access. Hope you've enjoyed this railway series here on West Country Wanderings. Until next time, love to know your thoughts on these 3 new stations. If you live in the area, do you think you'll be using these stations here? Obviously you've got parking down at this one and at the other 2 as well, I believe. Not sure how much they'll be at Henbury. I think it'll be a little bit more limited at Henbury. My only concern with Henbury is it's quite away from Henbury. But yeah, so it's closer to Brentry than it is to Henbury. But love to know your thoughts as ever. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today. Until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves. Hope to see you soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.